This entrepreneur sells £150,000 worth of cars every single month. He wants to grow his business. He wants to raise more capital to take it to the next level. And the dream site has just come up. How can he negotiate with the seller of the site to make sure that he can buy the site at the best possible terms without hurting the cash flow in his business? That's the conversation today. So strap yourselves in. Hello campers, welcome back to Business Broadcast. Just a quick reminder for everyone, we're now doing this visually on YouTube. I'm James Sinclair and my co-host on this podcast is...
James Burt. Hi there.
I'm James and we've called him JB for purposes of this podcast.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Just otherwise it's James and James and that sounds like a posh solicitor's firm.
We could have a solicitor's firm, couldn't we? Could I just say, if you are listening at home, if you could join me in a round of applause, because Jim thought that his intro was so good and he was annoyed that nobody else appreciated it, because Nigel sat over in one corner not looking interested. Chuds, I think, is watching Netflix over the back. So on behalf of me and the listener, thank you so much for your...
Thank you, everyone.
What a fragile ego.
Yeah. But we are visually now, so if you want to come and see this on YouTube and you can see his horrific shirt.
We are visually.
We're on YouTube now, so you can watch the podcast as well as on all the audio platforms.
The YouTubers are loving this as well, aren't they? I mean, the first week they're like, "What's your mate doing?" He adds nothing to it, but they've quieted down a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah, actually, you've got a few negatives. I was thinking we should read them out.
We should actually. Should we do that? We'll do that at the back end of it.
Someone actually said, "Why has Sinclair done this? He's lost the plot." It's like, God, that's a bit harsh. That's true. So whoever commented that on YouTube.
But they're proper fans as well. It's like really, it's not just like the normal YouTube troll. It's like quite in-depth slagging off, isn't it?
I think you're going to be like Nanny McPhee.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Have you ever seen the film Nanny McPhee? It's a brilliant thing. They hate her at first, then they love her. And then she has to go away. But I'm hoping you never go away because that's usually your tendency to do that.
Yeah.
But they're already loving you more. We'd actually done a poll. Do you know we'd done a poll?
Did you?
Yeah, on my main YouTube channel, we done on the YouTube community. You can do that. And we asked, do you think the podcast is better with James on his own or with JB?
You never asked that as a poll.
We absolutely did.
Did you, Chud?
How? And guess what the results are?
50-50.
90% people preferred it with you.
Really?
So you're getting more popular.
Oh, that is good, isn't it?
You're going to be doing your own stadium tours.
I have a special set of skills.
Yeah.
Anyway, today, as you mentioned in the fantastic intro again, just again, phenomenal intro. We've got Joe Betty from Barrow Motors. He's been trading for 4 to 5 years. He's doing 150 grand a month.
I think we done. I'm just going to stop you here.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you the questions and then you answer because we've done that 2 episodes ago and Chuds went, "That's much better."
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you and you do the answer.
Okay. Here we go.
How long's Joe been trading?
About 4 to 5 years.
What's his estimated monthly revenue?
At the moment, he's cracking about £150,000 a month.
Not many business owners doing that.
I don't.
No. Do you have team members?
Yes.
How many has he got?
Nice. It's a lovely format, this, isn't it? 9. He's got 9.
And we ask all of our guests that come on the podcast, what's their big challenges in the business? And they have to identify 3.
Yes.
The commonality is they want to grow their business. They've got an opportunity for growth. So we're not looking for mood hoovers and toxic people here that just want to waste our time. They want to grow their business, but we want to identify their 3 challenges that are stopping them to do that.
Yes.
What's challenge number 1?
Challenge number 1, interesting, raising capital to grow. Obviously, it's quite a capital intensive business because he's buying and selling stuff. So he needs a lot of capital. Plus, he's got an opportunity he's going to talk about in this episode.
And also, I've had some car dealers on the podcast before.
Yes, I remember.
And we will re-chat about this today because I think people will be shocked how little they make from per sale of each car. Have to give all the warranties. And a lot of these car finance companies have stocking finance, which is horrific rates. But it's usually the only way you can get going.
Oh, really?
So you go to a bank and you ask for a line for stock.
Right.
And so they will go, yeah, okay, we'll lend you £150,000 for the cars and you pay horrific rates of interest. But not many people can just go and buy £150,000 worth of car stock. And it looks really rubbish if you're a car dealer who's just got 1 car.
Isn't it right that most of them make more money or there's more profitability in the actual, like the assurances and the warranties and the extra stuff that you sell on top of it?
They're hammering down on that with all this, did you get oversold?
Affordability and all that kind of stuff.
The smart thing is to have no stocking finance, own all the stock, you become instantly more profitable.
Yeah.
So you make around, say, £1,000 per car. But if you've got £500 worth of stocking finance, and it gets worse than that, they drive it off the forecourt, you've got to give them some warranty. 10 days later, the engine blows up, you could lose the profit of 10 cars.
Yeah.
So that's it. What's challenge number 2?
Sounds great. Challenge number 2, managing staff efficiently. So managing those 9 people efficiently. And challenge 3 is cash flow, which I suppose is always going to be a bit of a juggle with this.
Yep.
Do you ask me where he wants to be in a year? That's the format that we like, apparently.
Where does Joe want to be in a year?
That's interesting you say that, Jim, because he told us, he said, I want to have or be selling 30 cars per month and looking for an additional sales site. Which
are you going to be, your biggest challenge is being able to read effectively, I see.
No, I mean, Joe's other biggest challenge is actually writing in a coherent way. No, not only to slag him off. Talking about buying his back. Yeah. He also said that I'd like to expand my car buying website to be purchasing 20 cars per month, because he's got like a we buy any car kind of model, and he wants 20 plus cars per month to feed my forecourt and to remarket them to other traders and auctions. He also said he's got a lot of work to do in a year, hasn't he? He wants his new MOT and service centre to be running efficiently and making a profit. He'd also like to have a transport arm of the business to be expanded with another vehicle and staff member, allowing my transport manager to organise and prospect. And finally, he's having a very busy year indeed. He said, I'll be continuing to build my social media presence, perhaps 100k subscribers on YouTube, and going after that shiny gong that you get.
Yeah, we've actually checked out his YouTube channel. In 18 months, he's got 45,000 YouTube subscribers, which is very hard to do. Remember, me and Chuds, when we talk about content, long form content, so that would be podcasts and YouTube and writing books, that sort of stuff. So long form content funds your bank account, and short form content funds your ego. So getting 20 million views on TikTok, everyone goes, cool, look, I'm so amazing. But getting 20 million views on podcasts or YouTube, that would make you a lot of money if you was doing it correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. You always like to ask, what does a business look like when it's finished? He said he wants to be the go-to name in the area for anything car sales, servicing, transport or disposal related. He'd like to have at least 2 sales sites with a revenue of 5 million quid per year. He'd like to either establish his car buying service or as a separate national company, or perhaps franchise it. And he said, I will not be needed for the day-to-day operation, will be free to start or invest in other busines's.
He's a proper entrepreneur, this chap.
Big time.
Yeah. Do you know something that you said there? You said, he's created his own we buy any car-esque type thing. I think that's when you've really created a brand, when people use another brand to describe your business.
You're doing the vacuuming, you go, where's a Hoover?
Yeah.
Brand name. Jacuzzi, brand name. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah. When you get that, you should be so proud of yourself.
Yeah. People say to me all the time, they say, you're doing a Jimbo. Like when I'm just doing another great podcast. Are you doing a gym, are you? That's what they say to me all the time these days. Yeah. Now I've cracked 10 episodes with you.
There you go.
Should we get him on then?
We buy any car. That interesting thing is, how old is that brand? 10 years old? 15?
Yeah, probably about 10, I imagine.
Yeah, they've done very well, haven't they?
They had to reverse engineer some of their advertising very, very quickly, didn't they, this year?
Oh, what, because of Schofield?
Yeah, I wasn't going to say, but...
Yeah.
There
you go.
That goes to show as a good lesson to not be too reliant on one figurehead for your brand, because like with them, they must have had all of their spend, which would have already been deployed into the marketplace. All their media buying would have been done for the year probably, all with that one person as a figurehead.
Yeah,
got to be careful with that, haven't you?
Be careful. Let's bring him on.
This conversation took a turn, didn't it? Anyway, to lighten the mood, Joe, are you there?
I am. Yes, here I am.
Hello, my friend. Thank you for being on the business broadcast. So, in your own words, I think we've sort of like summarised it a little bit. But if you had like 30 seconds as like an elevator pitch, like a BNI, is that still a thing? Don't screw your face up. BNI might want to sponsor the pod.
Well,
I'm sorry, BNI.
The pod. I haven't got anything. I just don't believe that is a good, effective networking. Now should be content marketing, if that's what you want to do.
Joe, if you could summarise in about 30 seconds in an elevator pitch style, how would you sort of sum up the business? Give us the overall journey of your entrepreneurial, stuff over the last 4 to 5 years. What you've been building up.
Vocabulary.
Goodness, right. Okay, I'll do my best. Well, as you say, I'm Joe Betty. I'm the owner of Barrow Motors. We're a car sales dealership in the southwest. We do used car sales as well as servicing. And on top of that, we do transport. So I do have a couple of transport drivers. And off the back of that business, I have our website.
I think you're using some proprietary language there. What is transport for listeners? Obviously they know what that is. What you drive a train?
We offer... Yes, sorry. We do your sort of vehicle logistics, so we can transport vehicles for other dealerships or private customers if they're buying. There's a load of these sort of buy your cars online type thing now. So we can help buyers and sellers deliver or collect their cars, give them an appraisal on the car, make sure they're not buying a complete dog. So we're trying to expand that at the moment. We have 2 drivers.
So have you got one of those big
doing that
lorries that can have like 8 cars on the back sort of thing?
Well, we've got 2 sort of small vehicle transporters. They can take 1 car with a trailer on the back. They can take another, and a 4x4 with a trailer as well for the heavier stuff. So we can take about 2 cars at maximum at the moment. But yeah, at some point we'd love to have, a HGV with a 9-car trailer or something.
Well, those freak me out when I see them on the
I don't like them, especially when it's a bit windy.
Yeah,
quick.
Okay, fine. Yeah, keep going.
So yes, on the back of that, we have our car buying website, which is carsboughtformore.com. Maybe we'll overtake We Buy Any Car one day as a recognisable name. But private retail customers can get an instant valuation on their car, and if they're happy with it, we will use the same transport drivers to go and pick it up, buy the car from them, make it hassle-free. And yeah, as you say, I run a YouTube channel and trying to do a podcast, things like that. Off the back of that, documenting day-to-day life in the motor trade.
And what do you get customers in the motor trade to know about you? Is that the point of that?
I did it just for the sake of I like being creative, so I like the YouTube side for that. But originally, as we started promoting the Cars Bought for More, so we do get a lot of our viewers who will value their cars. It gives us the opportunity to buy their car, because that probably is the biggest challenge in the motor trade, is buying cars at the right price that are good quality. As you know,
Joe there, didn't we, JB?
Profit's made when you buy, not when you sell. So it's getting the right stuff.
Fine. I'm interested in this carsboughtformore.com. So I like that name, carsboughtformore.com. I can imagine that as a radio jingle. Just I was telling JB about this, because I think people think there's a lot of money in this game, but I think there's a lot of money in this game if you sell volume, or you've got a specialist. You're selling classic cars. I think there's a bit more money in it, but I understand most people make about £1,000, say, gross profit per sale. Is that what you believe to be the case?
I think it depends the scale of your business and what it is you're selling, but we aim for at least £2,000 profit per car. Sometimes
gross profit. Yeah,
gross
before
profit,
your
absolutely.
overheads,
Yeah, exactly. Before the VAT, which is 16.75% of your margin and whatever. Which customers never seem to understand. But yeah, sometimes it's twice that much, sometimes it's half that much. It depends on what you're selling. If you're selling like a small little first-time driver's car, you're not going to make £2,000 out of it, and you're not going to get a part exchange car because they're a new driver. Whereas if you sell something that's like a nice BMW or something, you might get a nice part exchange, and you've probably got more profit in it. So it depends where you are in the market, I think. Like you say, the Tom Hartleys of the world who are selling supercars, I'm sure he's got £100,000 in a car, but we definitely don't.
So if you sell a car, so you buy a Mondeo for 10 grand, you try and sell it for 12 grand, you pay the VAT on the markup price, not on the 12 grand. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. So because it's a used vehicle, there's no sort of VAT in that. We pay whatever the purchase price is, regardless of what we spend on it. Versus the sale out price. So that £2,000 you pay, I think it's roughly, the accountant would know, 16.5% VAT straight out. So that's 320 quid or whatever it is.
Yeah. Then you got to pay for the forecourt, the staff, and then you got to give it how many days warranty. Do you get things go wrong where people come back
all the time, every day? Yeah, if you're selling enough cars, you're going to get it. It's just a factored in part of it. And we have used third-party warranties who you should pay them a couple £100 or whatever, and they will take the liability. But they're not daft. They limit what's covered, and it doesn't. It's not limited to what we have to cover by law. So we don't do it anymore. We just fund ourselves. We've got a workshop, so we can manage it. But it's just something you've got to factor into the cost of this business, unfortunately.
So how many cars are you selling at the moment then, Joe? So if you're sort of taking £2,000 a car, if you're doing 150 grand, are you doing 70 odd cars a month then?
No, we probably, I don't know. I mean, I said we wanted to be doing 30 cars. I guess that's regularly, but I think we probably do about 25 to 30 cars every month.
Yeah. So you're making what, 50 to 60,000 of gross profit a month
from the sales? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of the revenue coming from then? Because he was doing 150. Is it
from the sale of the car? So he's selling 150 grand's worth of cars, but making 50,000 of gross profit. Is that right? Have I got that correct?
Yeah, 100%. Because obviously vehicles are high value items, so you get huge turnover with the actual profit in that is small because you, unlike selling a service where it's normally all gross profit.
What about the MOT and service centre side of it? How much is that doing per month?
It's a good question. It's just something we're looking into at the moment because now that we haven't got this site to expand into for our service centre, we're struggling to service our own stuff. So I'm starting to, whether we cut that out. I know it's profitable. I looked into it with my sister who's a management accountant, and it is, but it's much smaller scale, if you know what I mean. But I know James will tell me that's your sort of cash flow.
Yeah, I mean, I love MOT stations and service centre businesses. I think they're really good, and I think they're very recession proof. I think, but the thing is, if you're selling a lot of cars, I suppose you're looking after your own cars, and then you haven't got enough capacity unless you've got the staff to take on any other work. Is that what you're sort of saying?
It is. It's what I could take on another technician. We've already got two, or maybe a trainee technician who can do the servicing and tyres and the general stuff. But there's a queue of my cars that are waiting for a clutch before it can be sold, or a turbo or something. These sorts of things. And I could be taking in. We could do a cam belt for a customer, and we might make a couple £100 off of it, which is great because you could do a couple of those in a day. But we could also do a cam belt on one of our cars and make £2,000 profit. So
yeah, I get it.
Triage.
Just what about stocking finance? Are you using that, or use all your own cash?
I do, yeah. Which I have mixed feelings about. I mean, it's about 4%. So
with all
it's
the
not
fees.
Actually the fees, for borrowing. So obviously it does add up at the end of the month, but it gives you that opportunity to sell more. And obviously I'd love to move away from it or consolidate it into a better loan, but I haven't really found one that would be a better rate than that.
So your interest payments a month to have your stocking facility, what does that roughly work out at?
Typically, I was in my QuickBooks and I've just logged out, so give me 2 seconds, I'll log in and I'll tell you, but it's not.
Do you know how much you're borrowing from them a month on average?
It's probably about 125 grand.
So they're making what, 4 to 5 grand a month on you? Does that
not that much? I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong with what I'm saying, but
see, what you have to be careful of these when you set them up. They charge you like a big arrangement fee to get these things over the line,
right?
And then a renewal on that arrangement fee. But because you pay that at the beginning and you start the facility, but it is so profitable for them, not for you as the borrower. I don't think it is 4% a year, like he's saying. And what they do, you have to be very careful when you're borrowing money from people like this. They talk in flat fees or flat interest rates, and you want to be tracking in APR. So your APR, your flat. They say, it's only 10% a year. They go, it's 10% flat. That's like 20% APR.
Right.
Which is very expensive, plus your fees to get in and then maybe an exit fee, and it adds all this up, it can be very expensive. So anyone that, have you found it, Joe, while I'm waffling on?
Yeah, so I'm just looking, and I'm looking for last year, it was between about £450 and £600 a month in finance charges.
What, to borrow 100
So perhaps
grand?
I wasn't utilising it all. We've got about £175,000 limit, and I probably wasn't using all of it.
Well, then that's you have to. I mean, without seeing it in front of me, but if you've got 175 grand and it only costing you £400 a month, that's fine. Can I have their number? I'm not so sure on that, but usually when I actually coached and done some non-exec work for a car group. So I actually got to understand it, and the interest that these stocking loans take. It's like it worked out that they were making more profit out of the business than the actual business owners were making because of all the fees and the interest, and they disguise those. Once you get to a certain level and you're profitable, who are you using? Like someone like Close Brothers for it?
Yes, yeah.
Is it Close Brothers?
So I use Close Brothers, but we also have one with, like you say, it's obviously profitable with them because one of the auction houses is just like, have 100 grand from us. So it's, you've got an account with them, so you can just run up £100,000 of cars with them as well. So, I mean, they're both kind of equal amounts.
Yeah. So, I mean, Close Brothers are expensive. They are expensive lenders, but they're fast, they're efficient, and they love this space. And why wouldn't you? They certainly, if you add it all up, it won't be as cheap as £400 a month to borrow 175 grand. I absolutely know that. And so, especially on those guys. But once you get more profitable and you're more established, or even if you are now, the next stage is go to a high street bank, in my opinion, present this to them and try and borrow £250,000 on a term loan that you pay off over 3 to 5 years to buy a stock at a much lower rate of interest. And then as you've paid that off, you should be able to use your own cash flow and then be your own man. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So in that way, you talk about take the 250 all in one lump up front, and then you're borrowing it over that 5 year period rather than like a drawdown facility.
Yeah, and then you just you pay that down, and then as you're building up the cash, or even try and get a bank to give you, 12 months interest free, and not pay any payments for 12 months. If it's secured, they might do that, and then you should be able to just pay them off and you be your own man.
Yeah.
Because the faster you can get out of stocking finance,
the better,
the more profitable you'll be. I'm a very good friend of mine who sadly took his life last year. He had a big finance company, and I remember having a conversation with him, and he said, I just feel like I'm working for the stocking finance company, because he ended up having 500 cars. It was a big old outfit.
Right.
And he said, I'm just going to reduce it back down to 120 cars, have no loans, and just do it all myself. And just food for thought there.
Yeah, 100%. The one big drawback I've come up against is that the banks just do not like car dealers, used car dealers. They are. I did, you get those Instagram ads. I had one come up for some, capital raising type thing. I was like, I'll just do a quote just out of interest. And it was, they kind of phoned up and said, because you're a car dealer, whatever, and it's not the best market. We don't really like lending. And the reality of it was, if you wanted to borrow £75,000, it was only they could only do it over a 5-month period. They take 1 week's worth. They take daily charges from you for the thing, which was about £1,000. They take a week's up from your front, so you actually get £65,000, and on the back end of it, you've paid back 100 grand. It was 100%. Basically.
What I'm going to do for you as a little flavour, Nigel, who's listening in over there, I'm going to introduce you to my finance broker. He's an ex-Barclays corporate bank manager. Just have a chat with them, because he's a really high-end finance person, usually only doing £1 million plus loans. I have done a good 5 million with him in the last 3 years of borrowing through various things, some property, some trading. Go and have a chat with him. It's worth having a conversation, because he might know someone at Lloyd's or NatWest or Barclays, and you might bank with one of them, but they might not be the right department. And it's just, all it's going to take is, if your sister's a management accountant, sending over your accounts and just seeing what the options are. And if that saves you 10, 20, 30 grand a year in interest and allows you to grow your business, that could be some of the best time you spent.
Absolutely, yeah, that'd be amazing. It's knowing who to talk to about the right thing, and obviously you're the man.
Well, these are proper commercial finance brokers. Are you paying corporation tax each year on your profits?
Yes, but I can't tell you or remind you what they are.
No, but if you're profitable, you're paying corporation tax, and you've done that for 5+ years. That will make life a lot easier. And banks will go, right, okay, we're out of the 2-3 year risk period. We're over 5 years now. We're over the hill. This is an established business. Things should get easier for you. Let's now look at your challenges.
The number one challenge was raising capital to grow, and we had a little chat before we hit the record button, and you were saying, Joe, you've got quite an interesting opportunity that might have come up, and you're looking to finance or fund or get a deal done on a second site. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a site really local to me. It's my biggest challenge at the moment is obviously I want to expand, but being in cars, you're restricted to how many you can have in one place. They're kind of space, take a lot of space. So having seen this other site where I could get 100 cars on, it's got a nice kind of office for sales, etc. It's recently been vacated. Sort of went and had a nose round, and it's always been one of those sites where I thought that would be amazing to have. Probably a bit out of my reach, but it's now come available. I've spoken to the owner, who obviously owns a lot of property and is kind of up in the air. He's going to get an estate agent out to value it and doesn't know. And so I spoke with him on the phone. I've chased up again in the new year via email, just to say I'm still really interested. If you've decided on a price for lease or whether you'd be interested in selling it. But he's supposedly going to get back to me at the end of the month. But I guess past experience of just taking a back seat and waiting, because the next time I speak to him, you might say, "Oh, well, I had someone else come along and they offered." How would you go about sort of?
The answer to this is the lease option. So he doesn't have to worry about it getting capital in now, because sometimes wealthy people don't want capital, they want income, and sometimes they want...
Supposed to do it at the end of the month, isn't it? Self-assessment's gone in, all of his taxes
big tax
done.
bill, yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes people want income and sometimes they want capital. High wealthy people, it depends what floats their boat. So if you can offer them an option, I would go in there and say, look, I value this, I'll give you 800 grand for it. Whatever you feel. It's just you go and make the first move. I would very rarely offer to do that. I would hate to do that. But if in this situation you think that site's going to make you lots of money, you go, look, I'll pay you 800 grand for it, but let's do a lease. I'll pay you, 4 grand a month now. And then I want that guaranteed option that I can buy it for 800 grand in the next 5 years at any point. But in the meantime, I'll carry on paying you 4 grand a month. And that's what's great about a lease option. I've done them more times than I've had cups of tea. That's a lie, but I've done them lots, and that means they've got some income coming in. And then when you're ready, you can raise some money on it. Now, why these are so fantastic, these little deals, is because banks can see that you're paying your rent, you're in this location, and you can prove affordability and management. And then they will come in and sometimes even give you 100% value of the 800,000, because after 3 years, it might be worth 1.2 million with you as a trading business. So they've got their equity in there as well. And it's quite low risk for them because you're trading your own business from it. They would never do that for investment, but they would consider it for trade. What do you say?
Okay. Yeah, it sounds great. What would be your advice for coming up with a figure? I don't want to just pluck out like I could afford that.
Yeah, I would ask a commercial estate agent to say, look, do you know any ones near you that you've sort of got a relationship with?
Yes, I do. Yeah, so I could speak to them.
Yeah, it's very easy to work out whatever the square foot is. So if it's 10,000 square foot and the average square foot price in your area is 100 quid, it's worth £1 million, but it might be 60 quid, 50 quid. I don't know what it is. Like round here, I know the square foot price for commercial properties around 135 quid in Essex, in Rochford where I am. In Basildon it's 160, whatever it is, London 250, 300, wherever it is. And then you can very quickly work out what the valuation is.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I think to be fair, around our area it is
Yeah, go on.
I was going to say it is about £160, I think, square foot, but would that, because it's obviously a lot of it is outside space as well.
You can't include that. That would be discounted, but there was still a value to the parking space, but the building element. But if you can ask a commercial agent, just not go in there and say, what do you reckon that's worth? And then put a little bit more on top, because you want to get this over the line, because you're going to make a lot more money from it to get your lease option. Then you don't have to worry about finding a deposit. You just got to pay him a rent, and you're in there and you're trading. And then look at this over 20 years. What's it going to be worth in 20 years to you as a trading business? Considerably more.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, when you've got the cash in the bank and you've got a willing seller, then you can be a bit more gung-ho. But this bloke is obviously worth a lot of money, and he ain't going to do you a deal, is he? So he doesn't need to, by the sounds of it. And you want to get in there and trade, and so you've got to make sure there's something in it for him, but also something in it from you. A great deal is when both people feel like they haven't won.
Yeah,
that's a great deal. Like, you don't feel hard done by, but you don't feel like you've won the day. He doesn't feel hard done by, but he doesn't feel he's won the day. That's a great deal.
Yeah, brilliant. No, I love it. That's that's
a great deal for both parties.
I 100% agree, because it's one of those things where I just feel like you can't do anything with it until you've got it. I just don't want to miss it. It's.
See, that's what I mean. That this is a good site for you, and go and meet him face to face and say, look, be honest. Like, I've done this many times. I'll make a good job of this. It'll really help my business, and I'll be very thankful if you would consider me. And sometimes people, if anyone does that to me, God, they've got me. That's why I don't meet any of my tenants and do the rent arrangements anymore. That's why my PA Tracy does it, because they say, I'm trying to build this up for whatever, and I'll be like, yeah, 2 years rent free.
Good for you. Yeah.
And so, but Tracy's much more removed from it now, and that's why if you really want to negotiate anything in life, really most people are naff at it, and you want to have an intermediary in the middle. That's why we've got estate agents on property that can be a bit more cold-hearted about the thing. But if you can go and see him and say, look, I really, I've done well, you'd be really helping me out. I want you to make some money from it, but it means a lot to me. So, life's not all about making money. It's about who you help along the way. I've been going for all that emotional roller coaster, pulling on the heartstrings. If it means that much to you, and how much more can you make by having that site? And if the answer's a lot more, just get it over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's brilliant. I will. I'll do that. My only concern was, I love what you said. So I can go and speak to an estate agent, have a figure, and come to him with something, rather than just. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Rather than just going, kind of keep pestering. At least I will have something to offer this time.
Yeah.
That also might help with challenge number one as well, with the sort of the capital raise. Obviously, it is a capital intensive business, but if you know that you can get this site on a lease option, so you've got the right but not the obligation to buy it further down the line, but you don't have to put the money all in up front now.
Which is a huge cash flow.
100%.
Yeah, you've potentially sort of saved the need for raising 800 grand from day one. It's worth coming on the podcast for that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Cool, yeah.
One of the things we love to do, Joe, obviously, is we like to get your questions for Jimbo. So, I know you submitted 5 questions. You might not remember them all, and we now just to add a little bit more tension, like a poor man's version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. We've now got a fancy jingle for that. So if you could just whittle down your 5 questions and come up with a one killer question that you'd like to ask to multi-entrepreneur James Sinclair. Of all those things, of all those brain cells you'd like to pick from him, if you could just ask him one question that could help you to accelerate your business and fill in time to the end of the jingle, which is coming up right now, what would that question be?
Blimey, I think we've covered most of it, but if you owned...
Come on, Joe, join me on the drama here, man. Come on.
No, I'm terrible. Completely unprepared. If you owned my car buying service, would you, bearing in mind, again, capital is an issue. I can't afford to buy everything that we get offered. We're valuing about £1 million worth of cars a month. Would you would you try and franchise that so other people can get it and take a fee? Would you try and raise capital to buy more, to trade them on? I think there's a big opportunity there. I just wonder what you would do with it.
I mean, I think you need to get in front of a right funder that's not an expensive off the high street bank, and that's why sometimes using a finance broker can really open your ideas up to that. And I really do hope you go and do that call. One of the things, in your notes as well, you said, we've already done that, and I just done that intro. One of the things that I don't like, he said, shall I open up a second site and all of that? My experience is when people just open 2 sites, they work harder and don't get enough money. And if you can get to opening 10, 20 sites and you can afford effective management teams, then that's really good. So I would probably try and get one super site that makes lots of money, that has lots of places, all your best team in one location, because you can sell nationwide from one location if people really want to buy the cars from you, can't they?
Yeah, 100%.
So I would be focusing on that and owning the freehold of where you operate out of. But you might, even consider building this business up and, selling a majority of it off and stand as a minority, and you get a private equity firm, buy in a load of cash to it and say, yeah, we'll put 5 million into this and build the next, car giant, I don't know, something like that. And then you take a load of money off the table and you go off into the sunset and do your other things, because you're obviously very entrepreneurial. Reading through your questions, I've got land, how shall I leverage that? I want to do this, I want to do that. I'd like to buy big lorries and transport cars. You obviously, this is not going to be your only rodeo, is it? There's going to be more to do. And so maybe you should sell something, have your own lump of 10 million quid in the bank, and then really go for it on your next rodeo. What say you?
Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. That's probably the better question I should have asked you is, do you think I'm a bit too scatty? Should I focus in and
You're an entrepreneur.
whatever? I guess
You're an entrepreneur. You can't help yourself. You just can't help yourself. It is who you are and what you are. You'll always find a way, by the way. You'll always get through in the end. You've been obviously blessed with that gift that few of us have. But once you sell something and you have a liquidity day and you have a big lump of cash, you'll be able to do what you really want to do at speed. And that, you know, when the people that I've introduced you on the commercial brokerage front, you can be, you know, really interesting. Get your profits up. You know, focus on building your profits, which is painful, but just do it for a couple of years, because then banks will be much more affectionate to wanting to lend you better terms. They'll understand what you are. And things will get better for you. But thanks for being on. Hopefully I've answered your questions.
Is that another reason, Jim, to do the property move like now? Because as Joe said earlier on, that generally banks and funding organisations, they don't like the second-hand motoring trade, but if they like the bricks and mortar, they're more likely to fund.
I think he's wrong there. I don't think, you know, yes, they don't like restaurants, but there are some banks that do love restaurants.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, there are some that don't like buy-to-let property, but there are some that love buy-to-let property. And I think what people tend to do is they trundle up to the high street and see Barclays and NatWest and think that's their only choice.
Yeah.
Or there's the really expensive lenders that are good at marketing, like Close Brothers, that love a space. But there will be a division of customers in Barclays, in NatWest, which is much cheaper finance, but they'll be really good established car sellers. These businesses are never going away, but there's a lot of sharks in there that have probably knocked the banks, and that's their reticent to dealing with it as an organisation. But there will be some that do very well.
Awesome stuff. Well, Joe, before you go, if people are looking for a fantastic car, maybe they're looking to flog their car, maybe they want more money than they could get from that lot who've got that annoying jingle on the radio, where can they go to chat to you and your team?
I know where they go to. They go to carsportformore.com.
It's not quite.
Do.
Don't join in,
I'll be
Joe.
coming to you for the jingle, James.
Oh, please don't. Where can they come? So it's barrowmotors.co.uk?
So it's barrowmotors.co.uk. Yeah, if you're looking to sell your car, it's carsportformore.com. And if you need vehicles transported, it's barrowmotors.co.uk/transport. And if you want to watch some idiot buying and selling cars on YouTube, it's Shifting Metal.
Metal.
That's a good name.
That is a good name. I like carsportformore.com, who are the sponsor of this episode. Never had a sponsor, have we?
We have now. Fantastic. Thank you for being on, Joe. Appreciate it. What an interesting business.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I think I would love for the listener/watcher to take away from this is the lesson that you've given there about Joe going, oh, they don't like this sector. And you're like, no, they do. It's just certain divisions. You know, if you go into your branch manager at Barclays and go, oh, what about funding cars? They're like, no, we don't want to touch that. But there will be, like say, within corporate, there'll be a division of corporate that are funding.
Do you know what entrepreneurs are very good at usually is they'll knock on 10 doors to get the answer, whereas most people knock on the first door and say, no, right, that's that done then.
Yeah, see you later.
Do you know what? I know people have gone to Barclays, for example, to borrow some money, and Barclays has said no. Then they've gone to a broker. The broker's gone to Barclays and gone, yeah, we love this. It's just madness.
Yeah.
You know? You just like that. You've got to make sure you're talking to the right people in these giant organisations. I mean, like Barclays and employ hundreds of thousands of people, you know. How
imperative has a good broker been to you on your journey? Because I think people sometimes will look at...
Recently, yes. In the last 2 or 3 years, the Matt Stacey, who's my finance broker, has really opened my eyes up to the strength of a good broker. Now, I have an amazing bank manager, big shout out to PQ, at my main bank, that do 80-90% of what I want to do. But it's good to have some other brokers on the side. So my main bank don't like buy-to-let property investment. I bought a block of flats a few years ago, and another bank went, yeah, we love that.
So your main bank, for all of the other stuff you do, like, no, we're not touching that.
They'll love commercial property. Oh, you want to buy one of these big warehouses? Yeah, let's get cracking. You want to buy a dye nursery? Yeah, let's get cracking. You want to buy a house to rent out to someone? No, we're not into that.
And they will just tell you that
they will do it. But
is that because you moan and kick and scream and
but
throw books at the CEO?
Most of the big high street banks, the NatWests, the Barclays, they're not keen on buy-to-let property like they used to be.
And what's the most entrepreneurial bank, do you think, at the moment that's out there?
I'm hearing great things from HSBC. They're doing some good deals, and I think we've just done £1.5 million agreement in principle deal with them.
Okay.
So, and they were very easy and good to work with.
Again, through your broker?
Yeah, through my broker, that was, yeah. And then I'll have a relationship with that bank going forward. So we probably borrow from 6 different places, 2 significant places, and then the broker does the rest.
And do you have ones where like, okay, well, HSBC will do the block of flats, NatWest will do daycare nursery, and you go to them first with those deals? I
feel like I could run a bank. I absolutely know all their idiosyncrasies. I know which like what and what like what.
Sinclair Savings, maybe that's the next thing. Does it fall into the existing empire?
I actually took a client of mine, a very successful entrepreneur that follows my content, and I was helping him to raise some finance. He's going back into the care space, and I took him to my bank and to meet them, and I was telling them their policy of what they would do to him. So there was 3 of us. Was that a tripart meeting?
Right.
And I said, no, they won't do that. Don't even ask for that. And they'll do that. And he went, the guy from the bank went, yeah, James
I need to be it.
He's correct. Yes, he is correct. We don't like that. We do like. So, you get to know, don't you, as you're in the game.
But to that point of people hearing one no and then saying no, so even with someone who like this PQ, this mysterious PQ who you mentioned on the podcast, who's at your bank, will you you'll go to bat against him and go, no, you should be doing this? Like, will you actually have like a bit of a bum fight with him and make him go back to the...
He knows what their credit committee, so the banks have the relationship director that's then got to go to war with the bank. With the credit team.
So he works on your behalf, effectively. So PQ in this instance,
if he doesn't like it, he'll go, I don't really want to write this credit paper. They won't like it. So that's the end of it. So there's no point in making him do it.
Has he ever come back to you and said that on something? You've gone, no, you do it. And
I kick and scream, but I think, but now I don't even ask. I'll go and do it myself, and then present it and go, "This is ready now. This is all the things you like."
What for the bank, for your relationship director? You like it almost like a little pitch deck, like here, now take this to credit.
Yeah. So if I said, for example, Roller City, I didn't go to my main bank for this. I funded it another way, but after having it for 3 years, I'll go, look, it's profitable. I've got 3 years accounts. Can you do it now? And I'll get it at the lower interest rates.
So you'll fund it on a more expensive way to get it across the line,
or more creative way, or use my own money, but knowing that I've got to run it for a couple of years, prove concept to get it over the line.
Do you ever have? Sorry, talking about we've got on a bit of a sort of a tangent here, but do you ever have banks where you're going to do funding to grow something? They're like, well, you've got the money, we can see your bank, you've got the money, fund it out of cash flow. Do they ever?
They would never say fund it out of cash flow. That's what they hate. Okay. And that's what entrepreneurs do. And that's what I've done nearly my whole career. Right. That's called overtrading, and they hate it.
Right. But for example, let's say...
If you had 2 million in savings...
Yeah, so if they can...
No, then they go, we'll put that in a bond with us and...
Then we'll lend against that.
Yeah. Then they lend you more and more and more. Once you've got lots, that's a Barclays Wealth and all the private banks, they will do investment-backed lending. So you're
backing your own investment through the commercial arm, effectively, if you've got it in a bond of your own private net worth.
So if you do investment backed lending,
I'm a little way off having this trouble. So this is why I'm intrigued. But what it feels like at the top echelons of life. This is
to me is the real wealth building. I mean, we do wealth here. We're trying to grow people's business, but you build your business up, then you sell it.
Yeah. Have you sold anything?
Not material.
Okay.
I've sold some bits and pieces. But I've never had what we call
dribs and drabs.
Liquidity days where you're making millions and millions
in one go.
But say you sold your business and you help yourself to £10 million. You pay your asset business disposal relief, formerly known as entrepreneurs relief. So you pay 10% on the first million lifetime and then 20% anything after that on your sale. So say we've got 10 million net after paying all that stuff. You could then in the UK go and put it into a wealth bank, so Barclays Wealth or Investec or Coutts, one of those sort of guys. Lloyds will do it as well. They'll all do it, and they'll take your 10 million quid, and then they'll put it into the market, and they will lend you between 50 and 70% of that back at 1.5% over base. So you put your 10 million in, and you can now borrow 6-7 million back, and you can, as a big overdraft in effect, you can go buy commercial property, buy more businesses, whatever you want to do. But the original 10 million that you've put into this bond, they will manage for you, and you will have 5 different risk appetites: low risk, medium risk, high risk.
Oh, so they're working, they're sweating the
they'll
the
put it
asset
into the
and
FTSE
funding
500,
against
the
it.
100
Right.
or whatever, but they're lending you
The money back as well.
60%
Okay.
back. But then your original 10 million, the 100-year average is that usually makes about 8% a year, and you can withdraw 5% of that tax-free, which is HMRC approved. They'll put it on somewhere like the Isle of Man. So then you'll grow that 10 million on average, and it can go down and it can give you even more than this, but let's just look at the 100-year average. You can help yourself to 800,000 a year back. You borrow 6-7 million of that at 1.5 over base. So when base rate comes down, that could be very
Really good funding. Yeah.
You just go and buy £7 million worth of warehouses and probably have another 700 grand in there. The 8 million's making 800,000 a year, of which 500,000 of that you can withdraw tax free. You can withdraw 5%, and that's making some serious money.
See, I want to do that bit. We should do a separate
How do you do
series.
it? How do you do it? Build a
E
business.
plus M equals S.
You build a business and you sell it and you have a liquidity day. That's the only way to do it.
We should do a separate YouTube series where James Sinclair takes a generic idiot. I'm just saying, like I could be the one, and we could go from
doing it.
How rude. How rude. That's a fair point. If you've enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs uppy thing if you're watching on YouTube. Or if you're listening to this podcast, go and leave a review. I know it's like a bit of a pain in the bum, but actually a review really, really, really genuinely helps. You can just scroll down to the bottom of your podcast feed, click 5 stars, don't bother clicking anything else, click 5 stars and leave us a review. Let us know, review. Let us know what you like.
And if you're watching
best
on
about this
YouTube,
podcast.
please like and subscribe. That really helps. And if you
comments. Leave a comment.
And if you want to come on this podcast, it's absolutely free to do. You can apply on the website,
It's how
jamessinclair.net.
much? It's free.
Free to
Can't
do, yeah.
believe it.
Just, we don't want people that are just coming on to show off and grow that,
We know there's
promote
enough of
our
that.
business,
There's enough of that in the front of the camera.
jamessinclair.net, click on the podcast button. There's an application form, fill that in, and we'll do our very best to get you on, dear sirs and ladies. We'd love to get, if you're a lady entrepreneur as well, please apply, because we just don't get many females coming on. We're very multicultural, and we want to have some
We
women
want
on the show.
diversity and inclusivity, as you
Yeah.
can see by
Look at
our
that shirt.
Yeah, but
Women, don't be afraid.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah. If you'd like that conversation, check out this conversation by clicking here and subscribe to the channel by clicking there. And also, don't forget, we bring out a great new podcast for you to watch every Sunday and Wednesday at 7 p.m. See you on the next one. Don't forget, hit subscribe.